This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Good afternoon. Thanks for checking in. The era of assisted suicide is underway in New York. The state's controversial Medical Aid in Dying Act takes effect today. It allows terminally ill adults given less than 6 months to live permission to kill themselves with the aid of a doctor. Kristen Curran with the New York Catholic Conference is very much opposed to this law.
We do a lot to care for the vulnerable populations, and that includes the medically disenfranchised, the poor, the medically underserved, and of course the disabilities community. We do a lot of work with the disabilities community, and we know, again, having watched this law be implemented elsewhere, we know that this is a very dangerous and devastating law.
Assisted suicide advocate Jeff Sugarman tells Spectrum News,
"We don't believe that the religious views of some should be able to stop other people from using a law if they so desire."
New York's Medical Aid in Dying Act is modeled after Oregon's assisted suicide law, which has been on the books for nearly 30 years. There is a 5-day waiting period in New York, and doctors and hospitals cannot be coerced into taking part in the controversial practice. We'll talk more about assisted suicide later in this broadcast. Crucial primary elections happened last night in 5 states. The most closely watched race was in Michigan, the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate. Progressive candidate Dr. Abdul El-Sayed emerged victorious in one of the most expensive primaries in U.S. history. El-Sayed bragged about his far-left credentials while speaking to supporters.
"We are not a purple state. We are a state in need of a movement to take our politics back."
NBC's Garrett Hake continues our coverage.
The results in Michigan were a little bit closer than the polls predicted, but nonetheless, it was a good night for progressives in their efforts to take over the Democratic Party. The
liberal doc in Michigan moves on now to face Trump-backed former Republican Congressman Mike Rogers in November. President Trump says El-Sayed's brand of progressive politics is dangerous.
I think either they're very naive or they actually want to ruin the country. Anybody doing what they're doing and what they're espousing, everything turns out to ashes and junk and filth.
Meantime, in Missouri, former squad member Cori Bush lost her comeback bid in a congressional race in deep blue St. Louis. Bush was not gracious in defeat, denouncing campaign spending by the pro-Israel group AIPAC.
This ain't over, y'all. This ain't over. And when I said last time, AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down, let's be clear, that kingdom is falling down and I ain't done.
Meantime, Republicans hoping to flip a Democratic governor's seat in Kansas chose Ty Masterson, who thanked the president for his endorsement.
He loves this country. He loves this country. I was just, when I got to first meet him in the Oval last year, it was just like, "Hey, do you want to see the Declaration of Independence?" Yes, I do. Yes, I do want to see that. Because he just was so excited to show us.
Election day now less than 90 days away. The president says Iran is running out of time to make peace.
If they back out again, they're going to get hit really hard. We're having very good discussions. They don't like to admit that. But it doesn't matter. That's talk. The only thing that matters is action. And if they don't make a deal, it's going to be too bad.
An agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz is said to be near the finish line. Fox's Steve Harrigan.
Some real optimism coming out of the U.S. administration, despite the fact that attacks against commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz continues.
A U.S. naval blockade of Iran also continues. Iran insists publicly it's not negotiating with us, but it is talking with Oman about reopening the Strait of Hormuz. A man was arrested this week at a Trump golf course in California just a couple days before the president was there. Fox's Natalie Chuck shock.
38-year-old Janine John Tully is behind bars. Investigators say they found hollow point ammunition in his pocket and a gun in his car. Now, this all happened Sunday afternoon when plainclothes federal agents alerted the Los Angeles Sheriff's Office after spotting someone walking on the golf course grounds. They believed the suspect was taking photographs and videos and appeared to monitor security.
President Trump attended an RNC fundraiser last night at that same golf course where the suspect was arrested. A search of the man's home found several more weapons and notebooks containing disturbing writings. At least 12 states have now reported cyber attacks against their water and wastewater treatment facilities. ABC's Aaron Katersky.
There is no evidence so far of any widespread disruption to water supplies in any of the affected states. But from time to time, certain things have gone offline. Automated systems have gone offline, and the utilities have had to revert to manual controls.
The hack attack could be linked to Iran. The U.S. Senate is taking up legislation to ban surveillance pricing. It uses personal data to set the price you pay for goods and services. Critics contend surveillance pricing, which is AI-derived, is unfair to the poor.
They feel like it's not fair for a retailer to determine what to charge you based on information like your internet browsing history, where you live, and what you've actually paid for similar goods in the past. Now, there is the Electronic Privacy Information Center. That's a nonprofit that's working to protect people's privacy during this time. And they're saying that this basically threatens affordability in a time where a lot of goods and services are just more expensive than ever.
ABC's Melissa Adon. Still to come on the Noon Report, a midweek edition. Missing teen found safe and sound. Arnett Mall under new ownership. And beware the ticks. There's a new bug making the rounds. We'll have more after this.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. After a short spell of some very pleasant weather, humidity increasing and an approaching front will eventually bring us some showers and thunderstorms over the next couple of days and nights. I'll have forecasted hails up in 10.
All right, Kevin, see you in about 10 minutes. Thank you. Let's check the stories making news across New York and Pennsylvania. A missing 19-year-old woman has been found safe and sound in Rochester, New York, after vanishing Monday evening while taking a hike with her dad. Emma Appadesano became separated from her father in Ellison Park. A man on a mountain bike spotted her yesterday afternoon and called police. Authorities used search dogs and drones in their attempt to locate that teen. The young girl has received medical care and has been reunited with her family. Now to a story with a not-so-happy ending. Police say a Mechanicville, New York mother and grandmother plotted a murder-suicide that resulted in the deaths of themselves and their 4 children and grandchildren. All 6 were found deceased in an apartment on June 23rd. Mechanicville Police Chief Bill Rabbit.
The medical examiner's office has determined that the deaths of Harper, Hudson, Gavin, and Graceland Harmon were homicides, and that the deaths of Amy Stedman and Sarah Myers were suicides.
A handwritten note left at the crime scene by the grandmother claimed the killings were meant to protect the children from abuse by their father, who lives in Utah.
Whatever they believe justified their actions, the deliberate murder of 4 children cannot be described as protection.
The dad, Brady Harmon, tells Spectrum News he was just days away from flying to New York to pick up his kids when he got the news that no one should ever receive.
You just hear the words, they had died, and you cannot process that.
Police say 3 of the children were injected or ingested lethal amounts of drugs, while a 4th suffered fatal stab wounds. Mechanicville is about 20 miles north of Albany. Human trafficking, a major problem in the Williamsport, Pennsylvania area. State police have filed prostitution charges against nearly a dozen men in Lycoming County. 11 men in all were arrested in connection to this multi-month investigation into the marine spa and massage parlor in Loyalsock. Authorities say the men patronized victims of sexual servitude. 2 women were arrested in June for allegedly supervising that brothel and prostituting themselves. Recent flooding in Niagara County, New York, has left residents there facing significant damage.
You can't reclaim pictures. That's memories. It's a lifetime.
Wheatfield, New York resident Tom Cicerella telling WIVB,
I lost a part of my life, and that's the part I'm trying to get through. The only thing I could relate it to was watching the movie Titanic and watching things just bob up and down in my basement.
Hundreds of homes throughout Niagara County were impacted by Sunday's deluge. Insurance agent Bruce Lant says if you haven't already, it's probably a good idea to purchase flood insurance.
Everyone is in a flood zone. You don't have to be next to a creek or a pond. It could be something as simple as a water main break. Those are actually classified as a flood.
Lance says less than 20% of at-risk properties in New York have flood insurance. Less than 20%. Niagara County homeowners say the creek that runs along the Niagara Falls Boulevard hasn't been dredged in several decades, and they blame that for the most recent flooding. Now to Pennsylvania, where the Shapiro administration and the state health department are teaming up to implement a new way to track vaccination rates at schools. This comes as health officials in PA voice concern about the uptick in measles cases this year. It's been the worst year for measles since the early 1990s. Residents can now search vaccine rates by county, by school district, and even by grade level. Officials hope this online tool will reduce the risk of vaccine-preventable diseases among kids. A potentially deadly tick-borne illness has been detected for the first time in New York. Here's Family Life's Sarah Harnish.
Bourbon virus is rare and has no specific treatment. Health experts say tick populations and the viruses that come with them are growing, and new diseases are emerging as more ticks survive into the spring and summer. Officials say you should apply insect repellent before you spend time outdoors and do a thorough tick check afterward. You should call your doctor if you develop a fever, a rash, or fatigue after a bite. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
All right, thank you for that, Sarah. The Arnott Mall in Big Flats, New York is under new ownership. The deal was done Monday of this week. That 60-year-old mall has more than 1 million square feet and is valued at over $7 million. The mall was purchased by Cohan Retail Investment Group. They're located in Great Neck, New York. It owns more than 30 retail malls all across this country. 8 of those are in the Northeast. National Night Out events brought communities and first responders together last night across New York and Pennsylvania. Family Life's Dee Haley has the view from our Western New York newsroom.
National Night Out was once again celebrated across the United States last night, bringing communities and first responders together to celebrate family, neighborhood, and safety. The nationwide event has been held on the first Tuesday of August each year since 1984. The event provides an opportunity to bring police and neighbors together under positive circumstances. Celebrations were held throughout Western New York, including in Amherst, East Aurora, North Tonawanda, Depew, Lackawanna, and Orchard Park. Dee Haley, Family Life News.
Thank you, Dee. Western New York Congressman Tim Kennedy is sponsoring a bill that would cut down on food deserts. These are communities that lack access to grocery stores. As much as 15% of the communities in Kennedy's district are said to be food deserts.
Quite frankly, every community across the state and the nation is impacted by food deserts.
Catherine Schick with Feed More Western New York says food deserts lead to a host of problems.
We are more at risk for chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension and obesity. Food insecurity can impact our mental health, and food insecure children may experience developmental differences and poor academic performances.
Erie County's Deputy County Executive Lisa Shamira.
Food is a basic necessity for people to live. It is not a luxury, and it is not a privilege.
Congressman Kennedy wants grocery stores that set up shop in food deserts to get access to new tax credits and other financial incentives. It's almost time for back to school, and one summer camp in upstate New York is making sure kids can see clearly in the classroom. The Fresh Air Fund hosts kids from underserved communities, and that summer camp fun this year included free eye exams. Camp spokesperson Lisa Gittleson tells Spectrum News that nearly 90% of the kids tested needed corrective lenses.
If your eyesight isn't what it needs to be, it just continues to get worse and harder. Having glasses literally changes the way you're educated. It makes your education deeply more meaningful.
Experts blame excessive screen time for the growing problem of nearsightedness in kids. This summer, more than 600 campers received free eye exams through the Fresh Air Fund. We've got sports next. It's the 2-minute drill right here on the Family Life Noon Report.
2 days ago, it was a slugfest. Yesterday, not so much. Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, we're talking Yankee Stadium baseball, and 20 runs were scored between the Yankees and the Cardinals 2 days ago. Yesterday, only 2 runs were scored, and fortunately for New York, they plated both runs. Ryan Matthews tossed 6 shutout innings. The Yankee bullpen didn't give up anything either. The offense came via the long ball. Both Jazz Chisholm Jr. and George Lombard Jr. went deep. 2-0 the Yanks over the Cards. Luis Torrens went 3 for 3, including belting a 3-run home run. He drove in 4 for the game as the Mets opened their series with Cleveland, pocketing a 6-2 victory. Jesus Luzardo spun a gem for the Phillies. He went 8 innings, gave up just 4 hits, struck out 7. Philadelphia shut out the Nationals 5-zip. Luis Arraez had a pair of hits and 2 ribbies in his Phillies debut. Jackson Churio and Andrew Vaughn both went deep, and Logan Henderson won his 6th straight decision as Milwaukee finally picked up another win against the Pirates 4-2. It was only the Brewers' second win in 8 games against Pittsburgh, but it did shoot Milwaukee to 70 wins on the season. The streaking Red Sox won their 6th in a row as they routed the White Sox 14-2. Caleb Durbin hit a granny, and Wilyer Abreu launched a pair of solo shots for the rolling Red Sox. They have now won 24 of 27. Elsewhere, your winners were the Orioles, Kansas City, the Astros, Detroit, Atlanta, the Cubs. The Cubs beat Tarek Skubal and the Dodgers 5-1. San Diego, the Reds, and Tampa Bay. That is a look at sports.
All right, Randy, thank you kindly. Still to come on the Noon Report, a midweek edition. Doctor-prescribed death, nail biter in Michigan, and how to show someone you care.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. If free or subsidized groceries sound like a great idea, it's not. According to Eric Patterson, president of the Victims of Communism Museum and Memorial Foundation, a new project by New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani reveals just what is ultimately wrong with democratic socialism. Here's Dr. Patterson.
New York's mayor, self-proclaimed democratic socialist Zoran Mamdani, promised low-cost groceries, subsidized rent, free public transportation, an army of new social workers, and other freebies as a candidate. This summer, the public is carefully eyeing his plan to impose big box, state-funded grocery stores across New York. How should we evaluate all of this? The place to begin is with our fundamental principles of stewardship and accountability. Just last week, a group of small businesses, many of whom are immigrants to the United States, sued Mayor Mamdani over his grocery store plan. Why? Because New York is home to over 13,000 neighborhood grocery stores, known as bodegas. These independent mom-and-pop grocers operate across the entirety of New York. They fear that subsidized, state-run grocery stores will drive them out of business. For example, Mamdani's plan calls for a state-run mega grocery store in a neighborhood where there are 5 family businesses within a 2-block radius. How can they compete when Mamdani plans to subsidize groceries by 30%? To be clear, taxpayers will fund the building of Mamdani's superstores. Taxpayers will also subsidize cheap groceries at Mamdani superstores. Ensuring that people have access to food is an important common good. Civil government does have a role to play to ensure a baseline of public safety and the rule of law so that basic necessities are available. And it is true that we've seen inflation, and so we should be concerned about costs. But one has to wonder if all these freebies are about common good stewardship, or are they a campaign ploy to buy votes for the next election? We ought to begin by thinking about elements of stewardship, meaning cultivating common good approaches that are efficient, effective, accountable, and sustainable. We ought to also think about whether this or that government policy is in line with the basic American principle of limited government and the idea of sphere sovereignty. When it comes to effectiveness, there is no evidence that state-run grocery stores will cause a real rise in employment or better the lives of average citizens. Government intervention usually results in bureaucracies and bureaucratic procedures. Think about your most recent experience at the DMV. New York is an expensive place, but it is the ingenuity and competition between countless small, medium, and large businesses that innovates to provide for most New Yorkers' needs. The bodegas are the epitome of stewardship because they must count their costs every day. They are accountable to their customers and to market conditions. They provide a valuable service and demonstrate American pluck and determination. Only time will tell if they can withstand an attack by big government.
That was Eric Patterson, president of the Victims of Communism Museum and Memorial Foundation. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet.
All right, John, thank you for that. It's Weather Time with Kevin Williams next.
Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast for this afternoon. Partly sunny and warm, a shower thunderstorm for some, and a high temperature reaching into the 80s with a lot more humidity through the afternoon than we've seen of late. Tonight, some clouds with a stray shower thunderstorm, muggy, low temperatures, 60s and low 70s. Tomorrow on Friday, variably cloudy and muggy with a few showers, a couple of stray thunderstorms, high temperatures both days in the 80s.
All right, Kevin, thank you for that. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price. Lots to get to today, Wednesday, the 5th of August. The era of doctor-assisted suicide began today in New York. Starting today, terminally ill adults given less than 6 months to live by a doctor can kill themselves with the aid of a doctor. There is a 5-day waiting period before the lethal cocktail can be administered. Dr. Maura McQueen is a bioethicist from Canada, where assisted suicide has been legal for more than a decade.
Once something like this has started, it becomes a juggernaut. It's very difficult to stop. We do not have the right to take somebody else's life.
New York's Medical Aid in Dying Act includes safeguards to prevent coercion. Doctors and hospitals who object to assisted suicide can opt out. For now, a crucial U.S. Senate race in Michigan has just been decided.
Money out of? Money in your? Medicare for? Let's go win. Thank you so much.
Far-left Democrat Dr. Abdul El-Sayed scored a 1-point win last night over Democratic opponent Haley Stevens, who zeroed in on the Republican nominee in her concession speech.
We are going to have to get ready and show Mike Rogers what a little stick it to him looks like.
Fox's Rich Edson has more from Michigan.
Former Congressman Mike Rogers says the crazy train has arrived in Michigan, with Bernie Sanders throwing coal in the boiler and AOC as the engineer.
Political strategist Colin Reed says El-Sayed's victory last night sends a chilling message in advance of the midterms.
This socialist movement, it's no longer relegated to deep blue parts of New York City or Washington, D.C., but it's everywhere. It's in the heartbeat of America.
Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker says Michigan is a state that Democrats desperately need to win in November if they're going to take back control of the Senate from Republicans.
Look, the bottom line, it is nearly impossible for Democrats to win the Senate without Michigan, so the stakes could not be higher.
There were nominating contests in 4 other states last night, with Election Day now less than 90 days away. An armed California man was arrested this week on a Trump golf course near Los Angeles. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez.
Plainclothes federal agents say they noticed 38-year-old Janine John Teal taking photographs and videos and, quote, appearing to monitor security planning activities just days ahead of the president's visit to the course for a fundraiser.
A search of the suspect's home found more weapons and journals that contained, according to the FBI, disturbing writings. In the Middle East, a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz is nearing the finish line. Trey Yingst with Fox News.
President Trump indicated that a deal with Iran could happen as early as today. Speaking with Fox News, the president said that talks took place all day on Tuesday and that things are looking very good.
The Strait of Hormuz is a critical waterway in the Middle East where 20% of the world's oil passes through every day. It's been choked off, though, since the start of the war, leading to higher prices for you at the gas pump. You're listening to the Noon Report, a midweek edition, right here on Family Life.
Welcome to Family Life's Inside Out, where we talk about ways God grows his disciples from the inside out. I'm Martha Manikas Foster, and today we're talking about ways we can actually help our friends who suffer. With me for this conversation is Blake Glosson, Associate Pastor at Chapel Street Church in Geneva, Illinois. He's the author of the July 2026 article in the Gospel Coalition that's titled, Ways to Actually Help a Sufferer. Blake, when anyone we care about is in pain, we at least want to do and say what could be harmful to our friend who's suffering. And some responses to pain are not helpful. Can you outline a few of them that have been really unhelpful?
Certainly. There are a few categories of phrases that I tend to try to avoid. Phrases that could feel minimizing, like, everything happens for a reason, or at least you still have. Normally that's not the most helpful thing to say in that situation. I also try to avoid phrases that could come across as judgmental, like, do you think God might be trying to teach you a lesson? A question like that could subtly imply maybe you're at fault. Or a question like, have you tried praying about this? Have you tried reading the Bible? Questions like that may not imply that the original suffering was their fault, but it could come across as if the reason why they are still suffering is their own fault. Also, phrases that could turn the attention back toward myself. So if I were to say, I know exactly how you feel. Normally we don't know exactly how they feel. And if I use that to then springboard into me sharing my own story about my own suffering, sometimes that can make the sufferer feel like you are more concerned with maybe your own life and your own suffering, and that can be hurtful as well. The final thing that I try to avoid is maybe popular cliches that are not always the most biblical, like God must have wanted another angel in heaven if they lost a loved one.
Right.
You're not going to find that anywhere in Scripture. Or a phrase like, don't worry, God won't give you more than you can handle.
No, that's not true.
Point. Yes, right. The whole point of the gospel is God saying, friend, you are going to experience sins and suffering that are far more than you can handle, but come to me and I can help you. Jesus says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I can give you rest.
In your Gospel Coalition article, you list ways to help people who suffer. One of the important ways to help actually doesn't require any words, right?
Yes. Maybe the most important way we can help someone is to simply be present. When we simply sit with a sufferer, I think it's one of the most beautiful ways of humbly communicating to that person, friend, I don't have the answers. Like, this is not a simple situation with a simple fix, but I love you and I'm with you. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes that's what a sufferer needs most.
What is it about listening that helps someone who's suffering? I think you're saying it's that joining with the person in their pain that is powerful.
Oh, so powerful. Honestly, when I first got into ministry, the first kinds of questions I started asking myself was, okay, how can I fix this situation? Or even, how can I take away their pain? How can I remove their pain?
Sure.
But a helpful mind shift for me has been instead to ask the question, how can I simply bring relief for these next 30 minutes? So sufferers, I mean, you see it all throughout the Psalms, often describe their suffering as drowning, like almost like they can't even get a breath of fresh air. And when we come alongside a hurting loved one, normally we can't remove their pain, but we can give them a breath of fresh air. And one of the best ways to do that is through listening well and listening with the intent not to reply, not to give advice, but to simply understand. Sufferers often feel so lonely, and by simply understanding and listening, we can bring great relief to them.
Now, sometimes it is easier to listen and not to talk because we actually feel so much, right? How can that feeling alongside them, or weeping with them, help the friend, help the pain?
Think about it. Jesus, right before he raised Lazarus from the dead.
Right, which he knew he was going to do. Yes.
Right. Yes. He knew he was going to. So again, he could have stepped on the scene, looked at everyone weeping, and said, hey, cheer up. I'm about to fix everything.
Yeah.
But he stops, he pauses, and he weeps with his friends that are weeping. Jesus gives us such a wonderful model here, and you don't have to shed literal tears to weep with someone who weeps. You can simply say something like, it hurts me to see you hurting right now. I hate this for you. Or even something like, man, this is so hard. And just leave it at that. So I think literal tears, great, but we can also weep with those who weep by key words and phrases and the way that we are present with someone as well.
That's some great advice there from Pastor Blake Glosson with the Chapel Street Church in Geneva, Illinois. It's this week's edition of Inside Out, airing Wednesdays during the Noon Report, or online anytime. Catch all of Martha's special features at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and FamilyLife.org. And finally at noon for Wednesday, summertime memories are the best kind of memories. Apparently, a new poll shows they stick more in your brain than other sorts of family gatherings. Here's correspondent Bree Tennis.
As a kid, summer was the best. No school, hanging with friends, and maybe a family vacation. As an adult, not so much. There's work, laundry, dishes, bills, and your kids with no clue how to unplug and be kids. A Harris poll shows 62% of adults remember family vacations when they were 5 to 10 years of age more vividly than any Christmas or birthday. So before this summer slips away, you need to get to it and make some memories. I'm Bree Tennis.
All right, thank you, Bree. And just like that, we're out of time. That's our world, the world we live in. Wednesday, the 5th day of August. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at FamilyLife.org.